Chairman, this committee has a responsibility this committee has to ensure a pandemic like the coronavirus never happens again. But to this day, we still don't know how the coronavirus originated. It could have originated naturally. We don't think it did. But because there are clues, there are enormous clues that also point to a virus that was released in the world after a lab accident or perhaps even intentionally. And frankly, the majority has done nothing to get to the bottom of this, absolutely nothing. It's like my friends across the aisle are more concerned about perceived politics than about leading from the front and working together to protect our citizens from the threat China poses to our country and to our health. And here's the thing, whether the virus was naturally occurring or not, we have a responsibility to figure out where it came from. Here's what we do know. The Chinese government engaged in a massive cover-up by ordering the destruction of samples, taking all genomic sequences, databases offline to shield them from public access, disappearing journalists and scientists, lying about their observations of asymptomatic spread from person to person, activating their global united work front to ship personal protective equipment to the China motherland before others even knew of the outbreak. We know that China did and is still leading an organized, massive media campaign to manipulate people all over the world to think about China favorably. We know that NIH has not come close to cooperating or to answering our questions about its funding to EcoHealth Alliance that supported bat coronavirus research at the Wuhan Institute of Virology. We know that the NIH states it did not fund gain-of-function research at the Wuhan Institute of Virology, yet NIH grant documents for the EcoHealth Alliance research in China bring their claims into question. Recently, 900 pages of EcoHealth Alliance grant reports reveal that EcoHealth Alliance reported to the NIH that they increased the transmissibility of viruses by 10,000 times during their experiments. Yet NIH did not pause the funding or the research or have the research undergo any special risk assessment reviews. NIH was not forthcoming with their documents. They did not provide them to minority committee leadership, and they did not even provide them when Freedom of Information Act requests were filed. Instead, NIH had to be sued before releasing redacted copies of their grant documents. And guess who footed the bill for the research? The American people. Our constituents' money went to China to conduct risky, dangerous, gain-of-function research. Albert Einstein said years ago, the only thing more dangerous than ignorance is arrogance. Ladies and gentlemen, gain-of-function is research arrogance. And this is just one of several illustrations of the conflicting information that surfaced when the grant research documents were published last week. Political partisanship, academic groupthink, and big tech shut down any and all mention of the possibility that COVID-19 emerged from a lab accident at the Wuhan Institute of Virology. Facebook and Twitter literally deleted posts that suggested this, and in some cases, banned those users. Mark Zuckerberg and Jack Dorsey are not scientists, and they should be condemned for pursuing China's lies out to the world. So what do we do now? Congress must get to the bottom of this. And while we may never get the answers we want from the Chinese Communist Party, as the NIH Authorizing Committee and the Committee with Jurisdiction over Public Health, we have the responsibility to investigate how the outbreak occurred, if for no other reason than to figure out what steps we must take to prevent another pandemic. We must track every single U.S. taxpayer dollar spent on this research in China. We must prohibit any U.S. funds from going to the Wuhan Institute of Virology, a lab that the U.S. State Department declared conducts secret military experiments with the Chinese Communist People's Liberation Army. More importantly, we should pause federal funding for gain-of-function studies into potential pandemic viruses while we investigate and work with the HHS and the NIH to establish a more transparent and thorough risk assessment process for funding this kind of research. We have the opportunity to take immediate action today by passing my amendment. It mirrors, listen to this now, it mirrors almost identically the 5-year moratorium President Obama thoughtfully put in place in 2014 to pause gain-of-function research. I urge a yes vote on this amendment, and I urge this committee to take the virus origin seriously and begin investigation. It is this committee's jurisdiction. It is this committee's responsibility, Mr. Chairman. My friends on the other side of the aisle, we have to take this seriously. We should never let this happen again. I yield back, Mr. Chairman.